Welcome to our program on immigration and you. I am your immigration attorney, Michael Fulvani, and once again, we have with us attorney David Nachman, who's my partner. David, welcome.
Thanks so much, Michael.
Last program, we promised that next program, that is today's program, we are going to give you a detailed information about the documentation to be submitted with the applications for deferred action. A couple of small things to mention is, we probably did not mention about that deferred status, deferred action is only valid for a period of 2 years.
Right.
And at the end of the 2 years, it can be renewed. But I mean saying we started talking a little bit last time on the downside and the upside. Let's just spend a minute or two on that. Because some people have reluctance. They say, what if in the election Obama doesn't come and Romney, the other president, comes, or the Republicans do not like this kind of thing that ever happened? Right. And can they cancel this? Can the program terminate the renewal of this deferred status?
Right.
These are questions, valid questions. We are not saying there is no valid. Our feeling is probably in the middle of that they are not going to terminate, but there is a possibility that they may not renew it further period of time.
Right.
Now some people say, supposing we apply, so there is going to be first thing that will happen, they will call you for fingerprinting and photos, which is biometrics. So you will be on the system. You will be in the immigration records. So some people are worried that if this doesn't go forward, can they use that information to deport us? I would say no, because the regulation, that a policy decision clearly says that this information that you are submitting cannot be utilized for enforcement purposes. But I mean, policies change. This is not the law we are talking about. The new government or the new presidency come in, how they treat that thing. Difficult to say, but I wouldn't worry. And I tell you, most of the students that we talked about, we mentioned these things. They say, we have waited all our life. Forget it. Whatever, we'll deal with it. We want to go ahead and apply, get a permission to work, get a driver license, get a social security number, get admission to the school, right. Be free. You even need a photo ID. A lot of people I see that don't have a valid photo ID. And they cannot even take a flight to travel domestically. They cannot even get into a train. They cannot get in a bus. I mean, their lives are very, very restricted. They are like in a shadow, hiding all the time, worried all the time, sleepless nights, what if I get caught? So this is a good program to go. You want to talk about a few seconds on,
I just want to address
minus
a couple,
and plus. Yeah.
No, I want to address a couple of the issues that you did, Michael. And the first one is this confidentiality issue, because as you rightfully pointed out, it's pretty clear in the policy that Immigration and Customs Enforcement is not going to get the information that is provided to CIS with regard to the benefits. However, they did leave the door open that in the event that there's a need for that information for the purposes of law enforcement or some other reason, they can get that information. So that is a little troubling, the fact that they left that door open. But generally speaking, I think you're right, Michael. I think that it is definitely a better, I think that I would err on the side of saying apply for the benefit. See, here's the analogy that I use. Back in 1991, in April of 2000, and this was, back in 2001, we had something called the 245I program. If the government wanted to use a database of people who are illegally in the United States, there's already a database there. Yeah. So why are they going to start a new database, a fresh database, with individuals who are these so-called dreamers and use that information? So to me, if they wanted to deport and they wanted to remove, they would have used that database that already exists. So that's number one. Number two is, we also have a very interesting situation. We know from MPI, which is a migrant think tank down in Washington, D.C., that we have 1.79 million people potentially who will benefit from this program. Now, if 1.79 people apply for this program, let's say between now and December, that's a lot of people. And what the government is unlikely to do, chances are, is to pull that program away from people who have applied and are warranting favorable adjudication, because we already know from CSS and LULAC and SAW that those programs are under litigation, which has gone on from 1986 to today. And think about the tremendous amount of money that's been wasted in litigation in class action lawsuits against the U.S. federal government up to this date. So my feeling is, I don't think there's a downside really to pursuing to pursuing the application.
Let me follow up on something. I know our viewers are waiting for documentation to be submitted, but it's a very interesting thing. 1986, when they passed the law, Amnesty Act, during President Reagan's time, that's what the regulation clearly saying in the statute, that this confidentiality remains confidential, cannot be utilized for any other purposes. So that I got a case, actual case, in Connecticut immigration, I can even mention that, when they denied the case based upon something they found in his legalization application. He might have said something wrong. And he got married to a US citizen, real case, no problem at all. They go to that application, denied. And then we went and appeal to the appellate board, and they said, yes, they reversed the decision. They reversed, yes, said you cannot. The decision of the Immigration Service is wrong. They cannot use that information. Because I was applying for a waiver, but I said there's no need to waiver. Because this,
so the point is that they've already been down this road before. And obviously that policy seems to hold. So why wouldn't it hold under the DACA benefits? That's
so I wouldn't worry much about that, because the policy is that, and if they do that, that can be challenged in the court of law as well.
Exactly. But that is the $200,000 question that I'm getting from everyone is what happens if this program gets terminated? And obviously nothing is guaranteed, but it's my feeling, and I think your feeling also, that because there's so many people who are going to be applying, why would the government do something like pull the rug out from under the beneficiaries?
Okay,
it's not what it's about. Let's talk about documentation.
Okay, I think let's go one by one issue first, and then we talk both.
Absolutely.
First condition, must have entered the US under the age of 16.
Correct.
How do we prove that?
Well, you take a look at the passport and you see whether or not there's an I-94, and the I-94 would obviously help you to understand when the individual was admitted.
Perfect. But before that, we should look at the birth certificate.
Oh, you mean that the person is under 16 years of age?
So we have to see what the date of birth is.
Correct.
And when he entered, then we have to see that when he entered, was it under 16 or not?
Correct. And it's really important to point out to our viewers that the government will only take primary evidence of this. They're not going to take secondary evidence. So it has to be a birth certificate.
Okay, but let's go further. Let's say, very easy, you said that passport I-94 proves. But a lot of people entered without a visa from border, Canada, Mexico, anywhere. They don't have no document, no passport, no stamp, nothing to show when they entered.
Right.
How do we prove that?
Well, I guess that there are a couple of ways you can do it by affidavits of people.
But they say that affidavits, they may only accept to some extent. They are not going to rely much upon the affidavits.
Right. The affidavits would be tertiary evidence.
So my suggestion will be, so anybody lives in the country, things happen in life. Things happen in life, and the person, first, the most important thing, most of the cases that we are looking is coding. I got 2, 3, 4, 5 cases in the last week. Children entered under the age of 7, 8, and immediately as soon as they entered, they went to school. So there's a
school record.
A school record right from the first year onwards.
Transcripts.
Yeah, transcripts. So that if that happened very close to the date.
Right. Grade reports, transcripts. Usually the guidance counselor will write a report.
And see, when a student said, I entered on such and such date, even from Mexico, but he went to school, right after 2, 3 months. So in that, I mean, it doesn't have to be a specific date, but in the few weeks, 2 weeks, up and down that period, he went to school and has been in the school all these years until did a high school and maybe, further.
I had a young lady who came into my office and she took out all of these awards that she had received each year for academics. And she showed me one for each year that she was in school.
But there's more to that. That school is very, very important. Some people did not even go to school. So here.
How about doctor records?
Yeah, doctor, if you have a problem with a doctor, think, just basically be creative. Sit down quietly, think in your mind.
People go for checkups every year.
Like you rewriting your history from day one when you came to US and see, did you have vaccinations? Did you go to any doctor? Did you have any accident in the car? Did you?
Were you paying rent? Do you have rent slips?
Rent slips.
Did you receive an invoice for rent, and did you pay it, and did you keep copies?
Correct. And maybe school tuition fees. There's so many things. You get mail from India, from family in that period.
Did you file your taxes each year?
Yeah, locally you try. Listen, you went to somebody's marriage when I was 8 or 9, your parents. You got pictures with the family there.
Right. That's a great point, Michael, and that's something that I've been telling my clients is, let's say you went to New York for New Year's and you took a picture in front of the big ball with the date, and if you actually look on the photographs, burned into the bottom of the photographs or on the back of the Kodak paper and that was an advertisement.
See, then
for
your
Kodak,
affidavits come in. What I'm saying, if you have a picture that you went to your cousin's marriage, and the cousin is there and you are there, an affidavit from the cousin saying that he is my cousin, and when I got married on this date, he was present, and this is the picture of our...
Exactly, and actually that's exactly how I describe it when I've been doing several speaking engagements for the public on the DACA program, and one of the things which I say is use the affidavit to interpolate. In other words, the primary evidence is going to be the marker, and then what you do
supplemented by a secondary.
Exactly, supplemented with an affidavit which helps you to interpolate in between those points.
So the bottom line is you have to be innovative, you have to be creative, you have to be thinking. This will be there. There are so many things. People are not looking. They are only looking at one place, passport, no passport, no passport.
Right.
But there are many to that.
Exactly.
I think
we're flashing on the screen right